Now, what we're doing today, this morning, is count signals in defence. So this is a signalling / discarding method with, you can agree with your partner, that replaces things like held, crisscross, McKinney, Italian, whatever you want to call it. And the idea behind it is, rather than giving your attitude towards a particular suit, like a low club says you want a club, or a low club says you want the lower of the other two suits, or whatever, instead of telling them whether you want a particular suit or not, you tell them how many cards you have in a particular suit. So it's essentially a completely different way of signalling in the defence, and therefore it's going to be alien to you, because you're probably used to saying, I like this, I dislike that, I want this, I don't want anything, that kind of jazz. Now, the reason count signals are used more by experienced players is because you can more frequently work out where the high cards are. You can't always work out how the shape is. So working out what suit your partner wants, you can use logic and look at the dummy to work out. You don't necessarily need a signal to say, I want a spade or I want a diamond. Whereas knowing exactly how many cards your partner has in a suit is almost always you're unsure. You can probably guess within a certain region whether they bid them or not, whether the declarer has bid them. But count signals are a way of identifying exactly how many cards your partner has in a suit, so that you know how the suit is distributed exactly. Because you can see dummy and you can see your own hand. So if there's 4 in your hand and 4 in dummy, if you know your partner has 3, you know the declarer has 2. And once you start to piece the suits together like that, you can start to get declarer's shape. And when you know declarer's shape, you should be able to know how to defend.
But you don't know the points.
You don't know where the points are, no. So that's where the difficulty comes in, because you're essentially sacrificing one part of the signalling to gain on the other. Now what I'm going to try and convince you is that the shape is more important and the points you can work out. Whereas the other way around, if you find out where the points are, you can't work the shape out very often. Not easy, you're not going to be used to it, so just stick with me. Now, often you can get information about the shape from the bidding. If the declarer has bid no trumps, they're balanced. If they bid 2 suits, they're 5-4. If they bid the same suit twice, they've bid 6 of them, yada yada. So you can almost always pull some information from the bidding. The reason you can almost pull information from the bidding is because if you're a defender, the declarer has had to have bid somewhere. So you know at least a fragment about their hand. You might only know one bid about their hand if it was 1 no trump. So you know they're balanced, and that's it really, well, points-wise as well. But because you are a defender, you know something. So always listen to the bidding, because card play in hand with the information you got in the bidding is to how you work out what's going on in the hand. Now, imagine we're in some contract. I'm not going to worry about the bidding just for now, but imagine we're in some contract. Your partner leads the ace, and you have 9, the 3, and the 2. I'm not particularly worried about the dummy as well, but obviously that plays a role. If dummy hasn't got any spades, they're about to rough it. That obviously your future in spades isn't very good. But you could play any number of these cards to say any number of things. You could play the 2 to say you don't like it, or the 9 to say you don't like it if you play reverse held, or you could signal count. So what I'm going to tell you is what standard count signals are. Now you can play standard count, or you can play reverse count. It doesn't matter as long as you agree. Just like it doesn't matter if low means like or low means dislike. You can agree whatever. So standard count says that going low first, low then high, i.e. the lowest card you have, is an odd number of cards. Now you could argue, well, surely if it's an odd number of cards, it could be 1, 3, 5 or 7. Well yeah, they are odd numbers, but you can nearly always tell which one it is. 3 and 5 it can be vague with. You nearly always know if they've got singleton because of the bidding or the length you've got in the suit, and you nearly always know if they've got 7 because they would probably have bid that suit or suggested it somewhere. Not always, but nearly always. So 3 and 5 it can be difficult, but again you can nearly always tell which way around it is. The difficulty you have is identifying between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, which is what this count signals looks to kind of eliminate by showing an odd or an even number. So this is what standard count says. Low card first, then high card next. Suggests that you have an odd number. Now, you could say, well, in held, I only needed 1 card to tell me how many, my partner was thinking. The low said they didn't like it, high said they did like it. In count, you're telling me we need 2 rounds. Low, then high, high, then low. Yes, that's true, but you can nearly always, in fact, always tell where they're going to go. So if they play the 2, you know they have an odd number because they have to go upwards. If they play something like the 7 or 8, you know they've got an even number because they're almost certainly going downwards. So you don't necessarily need 2 signals, but to complete the pattern, if you like, you do need them, but you don't need them to work out what's going on. So high-low, going the opposite way round, is an even number of cards. Now, you will have come across this before because we all lead top of a doubleton. So top of a doubleton is actually a count signalling method that you didn't really realise you were using. Because by leading top of a doubleton, when you've echoed, that's what another name for it, an echo is when you go higher than lower, you've suggested you only have 2 cards in that suit. So what the count signal is telling you is that instead of just doing that on lead, you are also doing that when following. So in this instance, if I remove a spade, now you play the 9, then the 3. Because you are echoing, you're trying to go high then low to say an even number of cards. That is nearly always 2 or 4. Again, if it was 6, you would probably know about it in the bidding. Not necessarily if your partner's got 6 small and couldn't bid, but nearly always. So when you give this signal, naturally you have to not be attempting to win the trick. Because if your partner has led a small spade, I'll just change the spade holding a bit. If you've got a chance to win the trick, let's say King 9 6 3. If again, obviously you'd be able to see dummy, but if dummy plays small, you need to play your king. Not because you're doing high-low to show an even number, but because you're trying to win the trick. So you can only ever signal doing count, just like you can only ever signal when doing held. You wouldn't, if you were playing held, play the 9 going, oh, I like this suit. Because you have to play the king. So it doesn't supersede any of your normal card play stuff of third hand plays high. But when you aren't attempting to win the trick, i.e. your partner's played a big one, or dummy's played one you can't beat, you can then give the count of that suit. By giving the count, you will be telling your partner how many cards you have in that suit, which should help them. They don't really care how many cards you have, I suppose they do a bit, but they care more about how many cards Declarer has in that suit, because then they can start to picture the shape of Declarer's hand, and it can guide your defence one way or another, depending on what Declarer's shape is.
Is
Okay.
more important in no trump than trump?
It varies. No trumps, you've got more information about Declarer, so you can often work out almost exactly their shape when they've been no trumps. It can be important in trumps because you need to know whether you need to get a ruff or whether Declarer is ruffing, whether you need to change suit, yada yada. I wouldn't say it's more important in either one, but it's easier in no trumps because Declarer is balanced most of the time. So if I give us some bidding and some dummy and everything, you will hopefully see kind of the power, hopefully, of these kind of count signals. Now, I've made this up on the spot, so let's see if this works. So, firstly, using count signals, before you even get to the count signalling bit, you should be listening to their bidding, because their bidding will be giving you clues about their shape. When I was thinking about this lesson the last time I was playing, I was thinking, how often do I actually use count? So I kind of made myself aware of how often I was counting Declarer's hand. It was every single time I was defending. I was inherently counting Declarer's shape. Well, they must have 5 of them. They've got 4 of them, which means they've got 3 of them and 1 of them. So leading them twice won't work, so I've got to lead them. For example, once you get Declarer's shape, you can really know a lot about how you should be defending. So in this instance, South has opened 1 no trump, so they're balanced. North tried Stayman, South bid spades, North didn't like spades. So they had to go at 3 no trumps. You could argue with a 12 count, they should have had a go at, just should have been 2 no trumps invitational, whatever, they bid optimistically. Now, the good thing about no trumps is, with regards to count signals, your partner's lead also gives you a clue about how many cards they have in that suit, because typically they lead a long suit. So your partner's lead of the 2 of clubs suggests they have how many clubs? 4. Why not 5?
That can't be the fourth.
That can't be the 4th down of their 5-card suit. So if they lead a 2, that's quite specific. We've got specific information there. So already what I would be doing, this isn't really part of count signals, although this is in itself a count signal by your partner leading. What I would be doing is adding up Declarer's shape. So if our partner's got 4 clubs, dummy has 3 because we can see that, that's helpful. We have 2, so Declarer has 4. Okay, from the bidding, how many spades has Declarer got? 4. Why don't they have 5? They could have 5 if they're playing 1 no trump with a 5-card major.
Transfer.
No, they wouldn't transfer. They would transfer with 5 here,
Yeah.
but with 5 here, they would have an unbalanced hand. If they had 5 spades and 4 clubs, they wouldn't be balanced, would they?
Oh yeah.
So they've got 4 spades and 4 clubs. So we already know a little bit, well, in fact, quite a lot about Declarer's shape from the bidding and the lead. you see where I'm going with this? This is how clever you can be. I mean, it's not really clever. It's just this is how kind of switched on you can be about Declarer's shape. So I know they have at most 5 cards in the red suits. Not only that, but they have to be breaking 3-2 for them to have opened 1 no trump. So they've either got 3 hearts and 2 diamonds, or 3 diamonds and 2 hearts. Okay. Now, whether that helps me or not in this defence is by the by. The fact that I can work that out means that I'm in a position well equipped to know what's going on. On top of doing all this count signalling stuff, you can then add all the points in and go, well, how many points does our partner have? If there's 12 to 14 here, we've got, 11, so that's 13 to 15. There's 12 on the dummy, that's 25 to 20, 35 to 37, got a card up.
Partner's not got that.
Partner's not got many. Partner's got sort of between 3 and 5. So doing all of that, you have a huge amount of information in this hand. Now, you don't actually need to be playing count signals to be able to do this, because this lead in itself was a count signal. But later on, when your partner plays hearts or diamonds, you will then know how many cards they have in that suit, and you will know Declarer's exact shape. So now you won't always know. Let's say they've led the 7 of clubs. Now you're not in a position to do this adding up, because we don't know this, which means we do know that and that, which means we don't know that, which means that now is 4 or 5, depending on their systems. So you're in a position of less information then. Fair enough. But what I'm trying to get you into the kind of talk to you about is adding up Declarer's shape is a very powerful tool, because if you know their shape, it also means you know your partner shape, which could be helpful, and you should be able to guide the defence as to what you think is the most likely route of success. Now, the downside to this is you're not learning about high card points, you're not learning where the goodies are. But the reason I think that is a worthy sacrifice is because you can often know roughly where the goodies are. You know, for example, here, you know your partner's got at best 5 points. So they're not likely to be thrilled about anything particular. I can't imagine them jumping for joy at any particular lead. They're probably slightly bored with the hand. But the fact that their shape comes into it is quite relevant to us, whereas their high cards aren't. There is always shape interest. There isn't always high card point interest. And that's why shape sort of discards and signals tend to work better when you get used to them. So in this hand, going back to partner leading the 2 of clubs, because that means we are particularly well informed. Going back to 4-4 in the blacks. Imagine Declarer plays a diamond from dummy at some stage. Obviously, other tricks have happened by then, but they play a diamond from dummy. We should follow telling our partner how many diamonds we have. So we should give a count signal. So in this instance, you should echo, whichever one's clearer. If this is the 3 and the 2, and this is the 7, I will try and be as clear as possible to partner, to try and help them. So let's say this one, intending to go high-low to tell our partner an even amount. A good declarer, of course, will be listening to these signals. So a good declarer will also be ingesting this information. Declarer wins the ace of diamonds, let's say, and our partner plays the 3. We now should be in a position to work out the entire shape. Because if our partner's played the 3, it's most likely, if not always, that they've got an odd number of diamonds.
So South's only got 2.
So South's only got 2, because West has got 3 diamonds. Why can't West have 5 diamonds?
Because there aren't enough cards to have.
There's not enough cards. If West has 5 diamonds, that means South has 0 diamonds, and they've just played one.
And they opened one no trump.
Yeah. Now it could be that West has got a singleton diamond, but then that would make South 4-4-4-1.
Yeah.
So you can actually, process of elimination, work out what the suit is. What that means is that the diamonds are 4-4-3-2, which means the hearts are also 4-4-3-2. Now, okay, I've skipped a couple of tricks there to get you to the end position, but this could be trick 4 or 5. I mean, I'm wondering why Declarer is playing diamonds themselves. But anyway, this could be trick 4 or 5, and you know the true shape of Declarer. That can be, well, it is often a huge bit of information, because if you know their shape, you can often know what your partner shape is and how you need to defend. Whether that's passively, give them the lead back, or attack, because you know that they've got a threatening thing happening. In this instance, we need our partners to lead hearts, because the hearts is going to lead to success. The problem is we can't get our partner on lead very often. But knowing Declarer's shape, knowing that they can't really hold the hearts up enough, means that I will be attempting to get our partner on lead to lead hearts. Your partner has also got to be working out this. So your partner needs to know this is the shape as well, because you've told them how many clubs you have and yada yada. And then they know that you've got 4 hearts, so they need to lead hearts. So if you do it in tandem, you can actually both know each other's shape, and you can both defend on the same page. but it's difficult because it means every single card you play is giving information. It's tiring, I guess.
So it just takes you 10 times as long to
Yeah.
play a hand.
Yeah.
Now,
Go on.
You always leave 4 cards. What if your 4-card suit was rubbish?
Depends on your methods there. You can lead second from poor suits,
Yeah.
and then you can't do as much counting
No.
because you don't know.
No,
You
you
can
don't
assume that there's at least 4 of them, so you know roughly, but you don't know exactly. Depends on your systems there. Second highest is fine, but then you're less informed about count and more informed about strength, which is also fine. Now, leading against no trumps, it's normal for our partner to lead kind of length. Leading against trump contracts is slightly different. So if we just look at a trump contract, often your partner may be leading shortish, or they might be leading honours. Let me give you another example. Okay. So, when the opponents end up in a trump contract, they've often given you information about their shape as well. In fact, it can be more precise. Whilst they're not necessarily balanced now, so you don't know they've got at least 2 cards in every suit, they've sometimes bid twice, which means they're suggesting their shape is a certain manner. In this instance, South has bid spades and then hearts, so I would expect them to be at least 5-4, spades 5, hearts 4. So you can already start to mark them with this shape. Now that doesn't mean they are exactly 5-4, but you tend to find it's a huge amount of the time they are 5-4. It's unusual for them to be more than that. They can be 6-4, 5-5, but it's nearly always that they are the minimum, just based on averages. Now what that means is if they've got 9 cards in 2 suits, they haven't got many cards in the other suits. So they have at most 4 cards in the minors, assuming they've told the truth. So that means in the best case scenario they're 2-2 in the minors, but they could be 3-1 or 4-0. So we've already got, if you like, 9/13 of their shape. So that's a big amount based on the bidding. We only need to work out the last little bit to know their true shape. So imagine our partner leads the... wrong suit. King of these instead. Imagine our partner leads the king of diamonds. We need to tell our partner how many diamonds we have. Now I'm suspecting our partner's got king, queen and not the ace. You can lead the king from ace, king if you want to play it that way, but I'm assuming they're being normal and leading king from king, queen. So dummy, unsurprisingly, plays low. We need to tell our partner how many diamonds we have. Because if our partner is also doing this, adding their shape up, malarkey, so we play the 10 essentially. When our partner sees the 10, they know that it's highly likely a doubleton. It could be singleton 10, but more often than not, it will be a doubleton. So if they mark us with 2 diamonds, and they've got, let's say, 4 diamonds, obviously they can see in their own hand how many diamonds they have. They know that the diamonds are 4, 4, 2, 3. You follow me? So now, the declarer has exactly 1 club. So when our partner sees the club led from declarer, they know to play the ace. Because declarer is going to play the king, and that's it for the clubs. Do you follow me? So knowing declarer's shape can lead to, even in trump contracts, can lead to clues about the defence. Not only that, when declarer plays a club and your partner flies up with the ace as they should, they can cash the queen of diamonds and give you a diamond ruff. If declarer hasn't drawn trumps. So the fact that they know you've got a doubleton diamond not only gives them information about diamonds, it gives them information about the other suits. Because they can use that information to deduct things. Because it's a beautiful thing that declarer has exactly 13 cards. So you can always subtract from 13 and know what they must have left. In this instance, we know almost certainly their shape is 5-4-3-1. Now it could be that 10 was a singleton, which makes it 5-4-4 non. But more often than not, you tend to find that singletons aren't knocking about. They can be, but you tend to find the partner having a choice gives you a clue as to how many they've got. So in this instance, given that the 10 is most likely a doubleton, you can work out that South is 5-4-3-1, which means it's guiding your defence. You can then fly up with your ace of clubs, take your queen of diamonds, give your partner a diamond ruff, should that be allowed. Let's imagine, how has declarer got an opening hand without that? Must have ace of diamonds, king, jack, heart. Now, declarer sort of must have the ace of spades for their opening bid, or else they've lied a lot. So I suspect the declarer, when in with the ace of diamonds, is going to draw the trumps. But even so, your partner knows to take the ace of clubs and take the king of diamonds pronto before something goes bad. It looks to me as if declarer is going to make over tricks here. If their club to the king succeeds, because your partner isn't thinking, they're then going to finesse the hearts, and it's just you're dead really.
Yeah.
You've got to add diamond.
Mm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, this defence, this count signals, doesn't mean you're always going to beat every contract. And it doesn't mean, oh, I knew you were 5-5-2-1. Doesn't mean that actually helps you. Because sometimes you're powerless.
Mm.
You go, oh, well, I know what you're going to do. You're going to run that 5-card club suit. And sure enough, they run their 5-card club suit. And it doesn't help you because you just have to follow suit. But knowing their shape can often be a very useful piece of intel because you can then know how to defend. Sometimes it saves an overtrick, and if we're talking about pairs play, overtricks is everything in the defence. If everyone makes 4 hearts plus 1 and you hold Declarer to 4 hearts tick, you might as well have got them 10 off, because getting 1 trick more as a defender is a top. So it can be absolutely paramount. If we're talking about teams, it doesn't really matter about the odd trick. So it's not as vital that you know the exact defence. But as pairs, giving away a trick as a defender is really bad. Because if everyone makes tick and you give them +1, you might as well have just thrown the cards in and tried the next hand.
Yeah.
You follow me? So pairs, it can be very important. So I would argue that count signals and knowing Declarer's shape is even more important at pairs. Okay? So what I would like for us to do today is, when you are signalling to your partner, i.e. you're not trying to win the trick, so Declarer's led the suit or your partner's led the suit and you can't win it, I want you to try and give your count. Whether you play reverse count or regular count is up to you. I would suggest standard count because it's easier, because most people will know what standard count is. And when you give the count, you can then work out how many cards your partner has and try all the time to be thinking, what's Declarer's shape? What's Declarer's shape? Because it's a very important bit of information. It's often sort of ignored. You just don't worry about it. And you go, oh, that's a shame that they ran out of them. You could have actually potentially known that they'd run out of them, if you think about it. Okay?